I've seen many terrible things during my watch, but none more horrifying than a wasted second-round draft pick. That's why I always use my Fantasy Footballer's Ultimate Draft Kit to guide me through the cold. Though my friends and family league keeps getting smaller and smaller, my fantasy team's just getting stronger and stronger. Join me at www.ultimatedraftkick.com and prepare yourself to fight the good fight. Winter is coming, but so is my #FootClan title. I guess I do know something after all.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Playdraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
August is here! It's football time. August 1st, Tuesday. Coming at you a little later, but don't worry about it. Just calm down.
Forget about it.
Don't worry about it. We've got a show tomorrow, and then the day after that, and the day after that, and then every weekday from now until football is over, basically.
I got a tweet from yesterday because, look, yesterday was still July.
Yes.
People, I know
Yeah.
we're very excited for the August shows every day, but yesterday was still July. But I got this tweet saying, when do you guys go to 5 shows a day?
5 shows a day?
Yeah, and I said, we would be deceased, my friend.
Oh, okay. Well, that's new goals in life, or not
Next year.
at all.
Yeah, coming in 2018.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Andy, Mike, and Jason. We're back again, and it is August. No Kings of the North today. We're talking AFC East on the pod, breaking down the AFC East. We've also got a game of this or that we're going to play. Very tough decision at the running back position.
Get your barf bags ready.
Get your barf bags ready. Welcome in, and here's the headline news for me. It's August 1st. I mean, we're here. We've arrived, and with the season and training camp comes the Listener League.
Oh!
Very well done.
I love Michael Keaton.
If you want a chance to play in the Listener League, let me tell you what we have done for you. We have made it so that there are 11 open spots in this league. Now I'm sorry.
Yes, it's 11. It's a 14-team league.
No, he was apologizing because he meant Jason made it to
Oh,
where there
yes.
were
Yeah.
11
Yes.
open spots.
True.
Jason won the Listener League last year. Therefore, there is no returning champion, which means there's an extra spot available.
Well, there's
for
a
you.
returning
Yeah,
champion.
I mean,
but
just not from the listeners.
Not from the listeners. So here's the deal with the Listener League. If you want a chance to play with us in the Listener League, this is the 3rd year of the official Foot Clan Listener League. All you have to do is send us an email, listenerleague@fantasyfootballers.com. And here are the ground rules. You have to do something that catches our eye.
A giant, cool story in text does not catch our eye.
No, it does the opposite because we cannot
We
read
get like
5,000
1,000 of these.
Yeah, we cannot read 5,000 long stories about how you won your work league for the 2nd consecutive year. Congrats. I mean, we are
Awesome.
here
Hashtag Foot Clan title.
to help you do that.
Hey,
But-
Andy, what about a picture of a bunch of trophies?
No,
does that
Brooks.
get you?
No,
Oh.
not a picture of – thank you, Brooks, for
Creativity, fun.
examples. Now, do not just do this, but an example last year, one of the people in the Listener League, they took a picture of us around to all these different places on Hawaii and basically gave us a tour of Hawaii. It caught our eye. It was
Like we were
interesting.
there.
It was
Like we
neat.
were there. It was cool.
Yeah, I feel like I've been to Hawaii, unlike Mike, who has been there 72 times.
Well, I own it.
Or Brooks.
Brooks actually was in the original Listener League.
That's how we met Brooks.
And he basically had this video that he produced and sent in to us that was very high quality and very funny and very cool.
And I'll say this. The reason we do it this way is we want fun people in the league. We do a full-on it's like there's a group chat that goes on the entire year. So we want to make sure there's fun people in there, having a good time, some nice
And it's always been fun.
friendly junk,
It's always been
garbage talk happening. I mean, but it's in
Yeah. It's going to be great. So listenerleague@fantasyfootballers.com. If you want to enter, send us whatever. Just make it count. All right, big news on the Ultimate Draft Kit over at ultimatedraftkit.com. It just keeps getting better and better. We promised you
More
it would.
ultimater.
It's more, yeah.
Ultimatist draft kit.
Find more new taglines, Brooks. Make a note. New taglines. There has been an addition to the consistency rankings over there, the consistency charts that we had added. There are now consistency percentages. Jason, explain what the consistency percentages are.
So if you want to know how often any player scores as let's say an RB1 or an RB2 or within the top two are, running backs, meaning the top 12 or the top 24, or how often they finish outside the top 36, we now have percentages for basically every player that's in the Ultimate Draft Kit. And you can look at and see, okay, well, this was how they did in 2016. This is how they did in 2015. Here's how they did over the last 2 years or over the last 3 years.
For
really cool data.
For example, Tyrod Taylor was a quarterback 53% of the time.
Which is a pretty darn good score. Of his games played, he's helping you out.
He is. And we're going to talk about him today on the AFC East Breakdown. I guess I'll say it again, the show schedule now, 5 days a week, and the shows, we record them in the morning and then they release normally mid-morning. So you'll have the one from yesterday if you wake up real early. Otherwise, you'll wait a little bit and they'll drop same day as we record them. Follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Today's quick question is a this or that, gentlemen, this or that. Now, I've polled the Foot Clan on this one, and I have the results, but I want to get your opinion. This or that, Eddie Lacy or Smash Jackson? Paul Perkins himself. These guys are extremely close in all of our rankings. Now, you have to decide this or that.
Is this true that Smash Jackson has risen so far up to ADP, he's now in the 6th round?
He is currently.
When you get branded Smash Jackson,
I mean, I remember. I'm old enough to remember when Smash Jackson was Paul Perkins.
You're old enough to remember.
And
Two weeks ago.
I was mock drafting him in the 10th round.
Yeah,
well.
Yeah, him and they're
Eddie
both
Lacy
together.
or Smash Jackson.
I'll go
it's a tough
first.
decision, and I have a hard time with this one.
Yeah, it is a very tough decision because when you look at these guys, their situations are darn near identical. You might say, well, Eddie Lacy, is a first and second down back because C.J. Procise is there. Well, the same with Paul Perkins. Shane Vereen is a great pass-catching back, and he's there. Well, you might say, oh, one of them's got a bad offensive line for the running game. Yeah, they both do. Or you might say, well, last year the New York Giants, the running back position, they only scored 278 fantasy points as a group. And it's like, well, Seattle only scored 3 more points. So situationally, it's near identical. They both have decent quarterbacks and decent offenses this year. I am leaning Eddie Lacy because I believe he is the, if opportunity seems to be the same, I think talent is with Eddie Lacy. I've seen him perform. I think he's got a better body for the NFL, certainly a better body for touchdowns and red zone and goal line work. And I believe that if you look not just over last year, but over the last few years, you've seen Seattle be a team that has produced fantasy-relevant running backs, even when it was Thomas Rawls after Marshawn Lynch got injured.
The woke one for half the season.
Yeah, a couple games out of the woke one.
Half an hour is actually the.
Don't dismiss his achievement.
He got
Jason.
Yeah, there was no
15
plural.
seconds of fame.
There was no plural to that word. His achievement.
But for those
He's never
reasons,
had achievements.
For those reasons, I think they're both going about the same place in the draft. You'll have to take Eddie Lacy a few spots ahead, but I lean Eddie Lacy over Smash Jacks.
I'm with Jason. I'll just be quick. It's Eddie Lacy because of the previous talent that I've actually seen from Eddie Lacy. If the drive is there, he could turn into a steal.
Today is a weigh-in day for him.
That means that, and I've said, if he makes weigh-ins every day, I move him up. Or not every day, but every time he makes one, because that I know that he's committed
to money.
That's fine. That's fine with me.
I'll take Paul Perkins in half and full, and I'll take Eddie Lacy in standard leagues. I have them back-to-back. It's a tough decision. I see all the arguments, but I think Paul Perkins has a higher percentage chance of being on the field on third down than Eddie Lacy does. C.J. Procise is locked into that role, and Paul Perkins, I saw him make plays in the passing game last year. So I will go Perkins in half and full. I have them back-to-back. It's pretty close. So let's talk news.
News and notes from around the league.
By the way, I buried the lead there. The Foot Clan voted this, and Paul Perkins won 63% of the vote. Paul Perkins over Eddie
Of course
Lacy.
he did. Smash Jackson. The Foot Clan knows.
When you asked,
Yeah.
did you ask Paul Perkins or did you ask Smash Jackson?
I mixed it. I said Paul. Smash Jackson Perkins or Eddie Lacy.
Hey,
I didn't put Fat Eddie in there.
so I know we've got all this news to talk about, a lot of news. There's actually newer news than what's in this doc, slightly breaking news.
Newer news.
I put it on the bottom.
Oh, did
Wait,
you?
how breaking?
It break your heart news because Baltimore Ravens just continue to drop. I mean, he's not dropped completely, but Breshad Perriman left the field today. I mean, come on, Baltimore. Fire your team doctors and hire new ones that, I don't know. Do you guys stretch?
There's something going on in Baltimore, but that's
It's not fair to the fans.
Let's say it's still just, a couple days, then it's whatever. But it's another leg injury for Breshad Perriman.
Yeah, and
This guy can't catch a break.
There's a report about Kevin White recently coming out. His confidence is shot after 2 leg injuries. Both Perriman and White were explosive players, and if you can't play with massive confidence and be able to compete, it can take time to develop that, and that would be the concern too. You're playing with fear, not with aggression.
Well, and they were explosive, but yet very raw wide
Right.
receivers. They weren't technicians like Amari Cooper. They weren't ready. So it's
Hammy brother,
yeah.
Eric Ebron.
Oh,
Eric Ebron suffered a hamstring injury during Sunday's practice, trying to once again
Play football.
demoralize Jason before the season begins. John Brown with the slight tweak. Now Eric Ebron with the slight tweak.
Congratulations, you've done it, Eric.
Yes, Eric Ebron has, reports said that Detroit have been in a lot more 2 tight end sets this year with Anquan Bolden gone, which boded very well for Eric Ebron, and I believe Darren Fells is there as well, but he's on the sidelines. Crockett Gilmore, Ravens tight end, he's gone. He's out. They signed Larry Donnell. Not a lot of fantasy-relevant discussion there to be had, so I'll move on. Here's a
this is more and more Ben Watson watch.
Yes. Gio Bernard, full participant in the first day of Bengals camp.
Shocking.
Very surprising news because he was rumored to miss a couple of games. I didn't really know what to do with Joe Mixon based on this news. I know that Gio Bernard has a very important role in that offense. I think that he's an integral part of that team, so I know he'll be on the field. How do you view this news, the surprisingly good health of Gio Bernard in the context of Joe Mixon and Jeremy Hill?
It's bad news for Mixon.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've talked about all offseason that it would not be shocking if they slowly work Mixon in, but if Gio was out and you have this pass-catching role just available, maybe Mixon can get going. But if Gio is there to be the pass catcher, and Gio Bernard is an excellent pass-catching back. He's a good talent. He just is not built to be an every down back, but if you just give him the workload, I mean, that's more and more touches away from Joe Mixon, and you have Jeremy Hill still there.
Could be a goal line problem
but
for him.
I have to throw out, there was I can't recall his name, but there's a beat reporter for the Bengals, was on the sideline, does the footage, he's recording some practice. He's like, and here's a handoff for Jeremy Hill. Dude just falls down immediately. Just an arm tackle. He's like, and now it's Joe Mixon's turn and a 60-yard touchdown.
Wow.
And you're like, why you got to do that to Jeremy Hill? You're doing him dirty.
All right. There are that's a running back situation to watch this preseason. A couple other teams have some interesting news breaking. Brooks, you took my quote verbatim and put it into the notes here.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to talk about the Tampa Bay backfield. My quote was Tampa Bay bullcrap because the news breaking about Tampa Bay's backfield was just a bunch of bullcrap.
I got to say that nothing that's broken has been news to this guy.
Well, what is the news?
There is no news.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's the news. Here's what came out. First, all of a sudden, it says that Jaquiz Rodgers could unseat Doug Martin.
Yep.
Doug Martin could not be assured the starting role in Week 3.
Yep. Week 4.
Then the next day, RBBC to be used for the first 3 weeks. Charles Sims, Jaquiz Rodgers, Jeremy McNichols, basically biding their time until Doug Martin returns. So Ignore it all. That's my news. Just ignore all of it.
They're just trying to keep their starter Jaquiz healthy, right?
Hot tip.
Yeah, they are.
Tampa will have
their best running back.
There'll be someone out there playing running back. I'm trying to remember the other backfield I wanted to talk about here. First, I'll tell you, Jamal Charles, according to Peter King, they want him to see 8 to 10 touches per game.
That's not going to get it done for fantasy. I mean, if you get 10 touches a game, the higher end of what they're hoping, that's 160 carries, and an older Jamal Charles.
That's not. That means Charles is going to catch some passes, so you're not talking 160 carries. You're talking
touches,
150, and then probably 30 receptions.
Jay Ajayi exited practice being evaluated for a concussion. Nothing major there. Here's the other backfield I wanted to bring up. San Francisco. Tim Hightower took the first rep at running back on Monday's training camp practice. The news for Carlos Hyde had been pretty positive of late. Some reinforcement from the coaching staff, from the GM. I heard he then went out and fumbled first pitch yesterday after Hightower. Haven't heard a lot about Joe Williams. It's a tough running back situation in San Francisco, and it really might be an avoid all at this point because you have a team that, how many touchdowns are the running backs going to really score in San Francisco? Tough division, not a great team. I'm worried about it. I looked into my numbers to see if I wanted to move Carlos Hyde up, and I didn't. I tweaked him a little bit, but I didn't move him up in the rankings.
But, to be fair, you hate Carlos Hyde.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, here's the thing. You love the infinite, unlimited, invisible scores that these injured players have.
It's not invisible.
The potential.
But Eric Ebron, Carlos Hyde, Breshad Perriman.
Don't put those names on me.
Hold on. No. I'm going to put another one on you. Lance Dunbar. How many – you've blown the horn for Lance Dunbar for 10 years. Guess who's out indefinitely with a knee injury now? Guess who's not even in consideration for the number 2 back in St. Louis anymore?
No one. I love Michael Keaton.
Because they don't have a football team.
It's Lance Dunbar. He's out.
In Los Angeles.
It's just another one of those things. And by the way, if you are in the market for the handcuff for Todd Gurley, you might need to look at Malcolm Brown. Because Malcolm Brown, head coach has come out, Sean McVay's come out and said, hey, he solidified himself as the number 2. If they don't bring in now they might bring in another body. But right now your handcuff is Malcolm Brown.
They're bringing someone else in.
All right. James Conner, left arm in a sling.
Ugh.
So the bad news there is he was actually sent back to Pittsburgh to have it looked at, which insinuates that it's not just like, oh, you got a little owie, come back on the field in a couple hours. They want to get it checked out. It could be something more serious. So definitely worth monitoring because the backup to Le'Veon Bell is a valuable position. As of now, if he's out of the way, it would have to be Fitzgerald, Toussaint.
All right, last bit I want to talk about before we get into the AFC East. Brandon Albert has chosen to retire after 9 seasons. He was going to be the blindside protection for Blake Bortles. Surprising news, he had been angling for a contract adjustment, so you wonder what the implications are there. He owes the team $3.4 million.
Breaking news, Brandon Albert has returned to the NFL. I'm not paying no one $3.4 million.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen there. But right now, Cam Robinson
show up and phone it in.
Yep.
Yeah. Cam Robinson is going to end up the blindside protection for Bortles. So that wasn't a great offensive line last year. It's not progressing towards one this year. They have a good center, but all right. You guys have anything else you want to talk about? I don't think we need to get into any other news. I do want to tell you right now how thankful we are to Pristine Auction for supporting this podcast. As we move to 5 days a week, we got to tell you about pristineauction.com. The absolute best when it comes to autographed sports memorabilia.
The best.
For your favorite team. We just had a giveaway we did this last month. Gave away an autographed T.Y. Hilton jersey, autographed Tyreek Hill jersey, and an autographed Tevin Coleman jersey. All from pristineauction.com. The quality, the consistency of how many items are up for daily auction, it's just a great way to get ready for the football season. Get that TV room decked out. You can see our signed Jay Ajayi jersey in the background here. Head over there, pristineauction.com. That's Pristine auction.com. Let them know that the fantasy footballers sent you. I know you will really enjoy it.
There is a Lev Bell helmet on here right now. Oh my goodness.
Beautiful?
Yeah, it is. It's like a matte black and the gold is
Pick it
is
up.
very reflective. Yeah, you might be in a bidding competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to everyone out there, if you're in need of a suit, Indochino has sponsored our show for a couple of years now, and Indochino, we all three have the suit. I have one. I've said on this show before, it's the best thing that has ever fit me. Like, there's no bunchiness. Mike, you just went to a wedding, got back from a wedding. I mean,
Darn right.
It's the season that
Everyone needs a suit.
Go figure. Every single year there's a wedding season, and you need suits every single year. You can get a great custom tailored suit, not one of these like off the rack JCPenney, things that bunch up and make you look like you're 10 in your dad's suit, but a really nice suit. They make it super easy. They show you how to measure, or you can even go into one of their North America showrooms. You pick from your fabrics and your patterns, customize it. You could, if you're me, you could put funny things on the inside customization label.
Sure.
Because who has a custom suit with ridiculous things? So
Double stuff.
You can get any premium Indochino suit for just $379 at Indochino.com when you enter Footballers at checkout. That's 50% off the regular price for made-to-measure premium suit, and shipping is free. Indochino.com, promo code Footballers. You'll never have to worry about badly fitting suits or expensive trips to the tailor again.
Let's get divisional.
I've been looking forward to this episode because I'm looking forward to talking about the New England Patriots and the fantasy football relevant players on this roster. It's always exciting when you talk about a team with an offense you already know is going to finish in the top of the league. This is a foregone conclusion. You know that barring an injury to Tom Brady, maybe even with one, they'll probably finish in the top 5 in terms of how their offense performs. 14-2 last year, won the AFC East, of course. And this is a team that just basically added to the arsenal. You lost LeGarrette Blount, but you bring in Mike Gillislee, Rex Burkhead, bring in Dwayne Allen, bring in Brandon Cooks. And let's start out talking about the wide receiver core, because I have some interesting information that I want to break down here. And the question for this team is, the narrative all offseason has been too many mouths to feed.
Yes.
And that will nullify fantasy value. And I want to know from you guys, one, is that an actual problem? And if it is or isn't, who comes out on top in that equation? Because I looked at this last year. It's very interesting. Brandon Cooks, everybody loves him, right? High flyer, big play guy. He averaged the most fantasy points per target in the league. So he had 1.4 fantasy points per target. He was efficient with his targets. Julian Edelman was dead last. So he was 0.8 points per target. Completely different type of players. How does this break down for you guys?
Well, and I would dare say that touchdowns are heavily weighing into that, where Julian Edelman, in his historically, he's not a huge touchdown scoring threat, but last year was lower than normal for Julian Edelman. And here's what I want to say about the targets. It's breaking down numbers, just really simple math, but then also projecting what do you see for this team, because the last 2 years, running backs have accounted for around 24% of the targets. Gronk is about 20%. Julian Edelman the last couple of years are right around 25%, right? So now you're talking, I have 31% of Tom Brady's targets left to go to Brandon Cooks, Chris Hogan, Malcolm Mitchell, Dwayne Allen.
Assuming that those other things stay the same, and that Cooks didn't eat into
You
those.
didn't count any of the running backs yet.
I said
he
the
did.
running backs are about 24% of the targets. So, and just going off of, like averages essentially, that you have about 180 targets. Last year, Chris Hogan, 58 targets. Martellus Bennett had 73. Now Martellus Bennett obviously saw an uptick in targets because Gronk missed a lot of the season. But it's Brandon Cooks, how do you get him to that 125 targets that he's used to seeing? And even if he is incredibly efficient, the problem is you're paying a second-round pick for a guy that you're not sure he's going to see those targets and will disappear.
Is he really a second-round pick?
I bet he's in the second round.
Because I have him down as the 13th wide receiver off the board, and I don't think that's the end of the world. Like, I have him ranked as my 17th ranked wide receiver.
Okay.
I don't know where 13th wide receiver off the board is according to ADP.
I'll pull it up.
In
But-
PPR, he's going at the 212 right now.
in PPR. Okay.
Yeah.
But so
304 in standard.
I went back and looked at 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, the wide receiver core in New England. And the leading wide receiver was Edelman all 4 years.
yes.
Okay. He finished in 2013. He was the 22nd ranked, and these ranks, by the way, they're points per game. So I'm pulling out those injured games just to give you context for how good the number one wide receiver can be in New England. 22nd in 2013. He was 16th in points per game in 2014. In his limited time in 2015, that was when he had that great start. He was 7th, and then last year he was 16th. So I think that's why I'm comfortable with Cooks in that 17. 18 range, but I wouldn't be surprised if Edelman ends up above Cooks in the final rankings, and Edelman's a 26 wide receiver off the board where Cooks is 13.
No, not at all. What you brought up in the beginning about efficiency per target, what that says is that you're going to have more volatility. It sounds like, oh, that's a really bad
Sure.
stat for Julian Edelman, but he's been successful with that kind of efficiency because his volume is there. And everyone is worried about his volume with Brandon Cooks coming to town. I'm not. I look back at 2007, when Randy Moss had 23 touchdowns and 160 targets.
You want to compare him to Randy Moss?
No. I'm saying that's my point. Like, you can't.
When
even
he gets the best wide receiver in football.
No, you can't compare Brandon Cooks to Randy Moss.
Okay.
But even still, my point is with that Randy Moss, Wes Welker in that Julian Edelman role had 145 targets. So Julian Edelman, to me, his role is safe. It's carved out. I will say this, though. For the Patriots, unlike a lot of teams, you add a bunch of offensive weapons to a bunch of teams. That doesn't always turn into just more scoring because the game script will change and now the running game takes over and they slow the clock. The Patriots are the type of team that will step on your throat while you are on the ground, and they will rack the points up and they will win by 28 points if they can. And so I believe there's going to be a lot of fantasy value to be had. I'm fine with Gronk. I'm fine with Cooks more in a best ball because I don't have to predict the touchdowns. And I love Julian Edelman at the value. That's how I see the pass catching core there.
See, here's
they were
the
already
thing.
4th in yards per game. They were already 3rd in points per game.
And by the end of the year, this is what I've talked about. Brandon Cooks will have those high wide receiver 2 numbers, but when you've played him every single week, is he actually helping you? And so I'm just going to read you a couple names who are going in that Brandon Cooks range and can see what the difference is. All right, so T.Y. Hilton, Mari Cooper, Doug Baldwin, now Brandon Cooks, Hopkins, Pryor, Watkins, Demaryius Thomas.
What you're choosing,
But I'm saying all of those other guys are the top targets
that's what I was going to
on
say.
their team.
That's what you're choosing. You're choosing the offense in New England, and you're sacrificing being
the one.
the kind of alpha guaranteed.
I would take Cooks over Hopkins. Hopkins is the guaranteed
yeah,
one.
and that's fine. I was just pointing out like where he's going, why I feel like he's being overdrafted is because those guys are all the one on their team.
New England ends the season: Buffalo, Miami, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, New York.
New York Jets?
Yeah.
Oh, I was like Giants.
Buffalo, Miami, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
That's really nice. All right, let's talk about the running backs. You bring in Gillislee, you bring in Rex Burkhead, you already have Deion Lewis, James White. Last year we saw LeGarrette Blount, but he was pigeonholed into this first and second down goal line role, and it served him well, fantasy-wise. But Bill Belichick's come out. He said, look, we don't want to be pigeonholed. We don't want the defense to know, hey, when Deion Lewis or James White are on the field, it's a passing situation for the running back. And when LeGarrette Blount's on the field, we're definitely running it down your throat. They wanted to bring in guys that can play 4 downs. It seems like he believes Rex Burkhead definitely is that guy. He's talked about Gillislee that way. And then we saw Gillislee get the first goal line carry in camp. So lay this out for me. What is the real ceiling and what is the floor? Because I think I get caught up with Mike Gillislee and I say, oh, my goodness, this could be amazing. And then I pull myself back. I go, well, what if?
It could be terrible.
What if Deion Lewis really has a role? And what if Rex Burkhead catches Belichick's eye? And look, there's volatility there.
Yeah, there is a lot. And you got to pay. It's not too bad. Where is So Gillislee's going 407 in a standard league. So that's still fine. Last year, LeGarrette Blount, 18 rushing touchdowns. The team had 19 rushing touchdowns. 0 went to another running back. The only other one was Jacoby Brissett. I mean, they found that role and they said, okay, LeGarrette Blount, this is all you. Why I have faith in Gillislee is because he's a better, well-rounded player, but can do the kinds of things on the ground that LeGarrette Blount can do. Mike Gillislee was unbelievably efficient the last 2 years, not just one. I believe he led the league in yards per carry. He's an excellent player, and you can go to shotgun with Mike Gillislee and not go, oh, well, they're going to throw. Like, well, no, we may be running because you have a very versatile running back like Andy was talking about. Now, could Burkhead kind of eat into that? I guess it's possible, but you're taking the shot. It's similar to Brandon Cooks, but I'm more willing to go in the 4th round on someone who I think could be a running back 1.
Yeah, Gillislee is extremely talented. I know he was a backup last year, but if you watch film, if you look at metrics, he's extremely talented. He goes to a high-powered offense. Everything looks rosy, and I'm a big believer in him and the offense, which is why in a pros versus Joes, I just drafted him very high. But that's a best ball league. That's you get all the touchdowns. I don't have to make any of the start-sit decisions.
Get all the touchdowns.
In a normal league, in a home league, in a redraft league, I'm really afraid of Gillislee in the 4th round. I don't think I'm going to take him because we have to keep in mind what history says about Patriots running backs. Yeah, I mean, last year, LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, not just last year.
Last year, LeGarrette Blount got all of the touchdowns, but literally Bill Belichick came out and said, I don't like that predictability.
Bill Belichick says a lot of things.
Sure, but my point is if you look at how he's coached, he has not coached with that kind of predictability until last year. The last 5 years, here's the top placing fantasy finish for their running back. You got Blount last year with 8. You got Blount the year before 36th. Vereen, 22nd. Ridley, 33rd. You got to go back 5 years to find Ridley when he was the 11th.
Sure, but you can go back, the 2 years ago? It was Dion Lewis for everything until he got injured. And I think it's more
high risk.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm not going to argue against the risk. I think there was some volatility involved in injuries that prevented him getting an actual workhorse running back.
But those things can happen again.
Oh yeah. I mean, of course they can. But you have to go.
Yeah,
with
are you comfortable with him in the 4th?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. 10-6 last year, ended the season in a flurry. It was the Jay Ajayi show towards the second half of the year. He had the monster games, and the question for Jay Ajayi is, do you believe, right, fantasy owner, do you believe in Jay Ajayi? I polled the listeners. 3-1, they chose Melvin Gordon over Jay Ajayi.
Really?
They did. Last year, Ajayi finished 11th, and I think what was both impressive and not impressive about Jay Ajayi was the pass-catching side of things. He was the basement when it comes to pass catching. No one was really worse. He was 10 yards a game, 2 targets a game, not involved, not a piece of the puzzle, which was a little strange because he was capable of doing that in college, but it wasn't part of the game plan. So starting with Jay Ajayi, do you fall in the Melvin Gordon or the Ajayi camp when those two are heads up? And what do you really foresee Adam Gase doing? Is this offense all Jay Ajayi's?
I do fall in the Melvin Gordon camp along with the listeners if I have to take one of those two. But I like both guys. This isn't that's not an indictment of Jay Ajayi. I think Jay Ajayi is good. Andy, you brought up the passing. I mean, his final year at Boise State, he had 50 receptions. He is a very capable receiving back.
I wonder if he emailed some of those clips to Gase this offseason. That's what I would have done. I would have been like, scoot that over there.
He has room for improvement.
And I watching it as the coach walks up.
Oh, I didn't see you there.
Well, what did you do?
I was just busy catching some passes.
Putting something up on the big projector. I didn't know you were here. Wait, don't we need like a British accent? Isn't Ajayi from London? Oh, we messed up big time, fellas.
It's one way to look at it.
Ajayi is the center of the offense. They clearly have committed to him. They did last year. They found success. They made the playoffs. I don't see them going, all right, well, let's blow that up. they're going to stick to that. And I believe from college that he can get the job done. But I don't love the offense as a whole for Miami
Even
versus
with all the
oh my goodness,
nobody's been a better hype train than
everybody's the best player
beat
out of
writers
camp
in
of
Miami.
all time. No, but I mean, if I'm comparing that against Melvin Gordon and the Los Angeles Chargers, I see an offense and a better quarterback and more scoring opportunities than I see with Jay.
All right, the Dolphins 24th in total offense last year, 17th in scoring. Added Julius Thomas to the arsenal this year, but pretty much the same offense that you were looking at.
Same players.
Same players. You got the extra hype of Devontae Parker being the greatest player in the history of the world right now. But just echoing what you're saying, Jason, it's not all rosy for an offense when they finished the way they finished. I think people saw momentum and they saw some efficiency from Tannehill at times. For those looking at Julius Thomas briefly before we talk about the wide receivers, for Julius Thomas to make an impact in this offense, everything has to change for the way they use tight ends. Last year they barely targeted him, 31st in the league in terms of only 4.6 targets per game. Not good in terms of, maybe they didn't have a weapon, but Mike likes Deion Sims, and Deion Sims was there last year.
I was pulling it up. I mean, Deion Sims kind of had a bit of a run in the second half of the season. And by run, I mean he made a blip on the radar.
Like an 8-yard run.
Yeah.
He had like an end around.
Yeah. But he was getting, 40 yards a game or so.
Okay. So nobody wants to talk tight end there. Julius Thomas outside your top 12, top 15.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
All right. Let's focus on Parker and Landry. Kenny Stills, I guess we can talk about him too.
Yep.
Landry last year was 14th in PPR leagues, 34 fewer targets than the year before, but still, very consistent. I mean, 14th is impressive. Slot receiver, consistent week to week. Love him as a wide receiver too. Are you buying into the Parker hype at all?
No.
I am. I am buying into the Parker hype a little bit. I think with the changing of the offense and the talent of Parker, you saw Tannehill last year surprisingly have a pretty decent deep ball, right? I mean, Kenny Stills was able to get past the offense and get
past the offense,
past the defense.
Wow.
He got past.
He ran past the offensive line. Is what you're telling me?
It's like Madden when you run off sides before the ball is snapped, but then you get back.
Yeah. Exactly. So I do buy into the hype because sometimes you need to take these.
So translate that though. What does that translate into?
It translates into a later round pick that you have the upside of a guy who could end up coming out with over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns and be a solid producer for a wide receiver too.
I like that.
Am I saying he will do that? No, my rankings don't, but I buy into the hype where he's going in the draft. It's worth taking that gamble because he has the talent and the opportunity to take that step forward. And every year, players take massive steps forward. If you can pinpoint which guy that was, your team is great for that. I think he's one that has a realistic shot.
And he would have to take a pretty big step. If you can check out his reception perception in the Ultimate Draft Kit. I'll give you a little hint, though. It's not good. I mean, he has a lot of growth as a wide receiver that has to happen. He's a first-round talent, and
you stack that on top of Landry being a better target in the offense and J.J. being more of the focal point. That's a situation in Miami that's similar to what I think philosophically they look at in Jacksonville, and they say, hey, look, if we want a chance to go on the long run that they had at the end of the year, we cannot put it all on Ryan Tannehill. We cannot put it all on Blake Bortles. We need to let Leonard Fournette, Jay Ajayi, the short passing game to Landry be a catalyst for success.
And Landry was impressive last year, but he was having some big plays. He was being rather efficient. Do you still buy into him this year? I mean, because you saw the change. The change was very distinct.
Well, they didn't extend him, and they said they're not going to, which does give me a little pause. Do you phase out a guy that you're not going to pay?
Well, in the first 4 weeks, he was getting double-digit targets every single game, 11 a week. And then the Jay Ajayi Week 5 breakout happens, and in the final 12 games, he only saw double-digit targets twice. I mean, and he went down to 7 targets a game, which – For him, it's like 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns because he's not a huge touchdown guy. But are you?
He's just capped. Is
Yeah,
what he is.
are you
He's capped.
going to buy into the cap? He was already capped, but he was getting fed so many targets, and now those are going to go down.
Yeah.
Do you still jump in, and are you still excited?
I'm
for Landry?
totally comfortable with him. And like I said, I'd love him as
he's like a nice ugly sweater.
like most slot receivers.
I think comfortable is a decent word. You're not excited. I can't imagine I'm excited about getting Jarvis Landry. And to speak to what you're talking about, whenever Jay Ajayi had 15 carries or more, you had Landry average 4.9 receptions versus the 7.5.
Right.
He
I'll
had
take
in the
5 a
games.
game though. I will.
I'll
would
take 5 a game from a deep guy, but if I'm getting
Sure.
if
No,
I'm
that
getting
makes sense.
4.9 for 50,
He's like a really bad pair of sweatpants that you throw on at home.
I'm going to leave you with that one.
The
Yeah.
sweatpants?
Oh, you said it because he's comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you don't want to wear it out in
moving on.
public.
Here's somebody that
Brooks thought it was funny.
See, but you said really bad pair of sweatpants. I'm thinking like they're
Okay, but
dirty.
that's what I mean. Well, they're dirty,
No,
but
they're comfy. They're real good.
he can just be a pair of
sweatpants.
sweatpants.
Yeah.
You
Why
don't
does it
get
gotta be
ketchup-
bad?
Why do they have to be grungy?
because they're sweatpants.
All right.
You don't wash yours?
No. Never. You don't get ketchup stains on your sweatpants?
I've never washed
I
my
would
sweatpants.
contend that Jarvis Landry is a clean pair of sweatpants.
Yeah, I agree. He's a clean pair of sweatpants.
Are you willing to wear them in public?
Yeah.
Andy wears sweat shorts
Sure.
in public almost every day.
They're very
Hey,
very nice, man.
His sweatshorts are classy.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
it's true.
Mike.
I like them.
Wait, I feel that
Is that bad for you?
like if Mike's complimenting my dress choice, I'm wondering if I. Thank you, Mike.
Breaking
all right.
news: Andy has burned all his sweatshorts.
No, they're too expensive.
And
All
also,
right.
if you're playing best ball, Kenny Stills is a great pickup. Super duper late. He's going to get some of those long bomb touchdowns.
Buffalo. Let's talk about the Bills. 7-9 last year. The curious case of the sneaky Tyrod Taylor, right? I brought it up earlier. 50% of the time he was a QB1. I mean, you just kind of don't get it. When you hear the name, and yet 9th in total points, 8th in points per game at the quarterback position, that's wonderful. Nobody ran the ball more closing out games. Tyrod Taylor had by far the most carries in the fourth quarter, so he puts the team on his back, Greg Jennings style.
Greg Jennings.
So gets Watkins back, presumably, assuming Watkins doesn't pull a Perryman, Dunbar, Hyde type of situation.
He won't. He's playing 16.
Oh man.
Not 15.
Oh man.
16.
I have an article coming out that I'm still working on, 30 bold predictions, and that's one of them, that Watkins plays all 16. So Watkins and McCoy. Sounds like a Western.
I'd watch
The
it.
Hatfields and the McCoy.
I'd watch
the
it.
Watkins and McCoy. Tyrod Taylor, where does he belong? Can he go up from where he was because Watkins comes in? This team, obviously, they ran the ball more than anybody. It was the LaShawn McCoy show. Bring in Zay Jones. Bring in Patrick DeMarco, fullback. Pro Bowl fullback from Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, Shady is for sure the number 4 running back, and depending on
You don't buy into limited reps?
no,
Okay.
no, he's your offense. Last year, the Buffalo running backs accounted for nearly 50% of their touchdowns. I mean, they were 5.1 yards per carry as a team. I mean, they were unbelievable, and they have a great offensive line. They've brought in an excellent fullback to just because that's what they want to do. They want to run.
Yeah.
But moving back to Tyrod Taylor, if Sammy Watkins plays 16 games, how was Tyrod Taylor not a quarterback 1? How is that possible?
No, I think he will be. He has to be because
So where would you put
take
him
his
then?
baseline that he builds up with running, and then you add in big play. I mean, he is not afraid to throw the ball up to Watkins. Watkins, when he's on the field, has always been efficient. It's just, is he on the field?
Jason, so if I tell you Sammy Watkins, he's playing 16,
If I knew for
where's
sure,
Tyrod for you?
if I knew for sure, then Tyrod would probably be around quarterback 11. I mean, I look at last year and what he was able to do, his percentage of games where he finished as a quarterback 1. They were higher than Derek Carr's, higher than Marcus Mariota's or Stafford's or Dalton's or Russell Wilson's. I don't think he's a great NFL quarterback, and I hate that fantasy scoring gives so much value to quarterback rushing yards. I've bemoaned that in the past, but it does. And so for fantasy, Tyrod Taylor's great, and because he's not a great NFL quarterback in many people's opinion, he falls in drafts. So we're a late quarterback drafting group here. Tyrod Taylor, awesome guy. Oh, man, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, you can almost always get him as your second, and that is great.
Very likely to be a middling team again, too, so put him in the position to have to come back late in the game, actually throw the ball a little bit. They lose Robert Woods. Like I said, Zay Jones is there. Jonathan Williams would be the kind of handcuff / maybe he has a little bit of that Gilly potential if they decide to take reps away from McCoy.
You've seen the last couple of years. It was Carlos Williams, and then it was Mike Gillislee last year. They find a role, and like I said, the offensive line is so good, and McCoy is such an excellent running back, and you tune your game to, okay, I gotta tackle Shady McCoy, the slippery fish, and then you throw the changeup. I mean, it throws defenses off where the backup running back in Buffalo can have success.
Any fantasy sleepers on this roster you want to bring up, like Charles Clay?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll go
Jason's
ahead and
eyes just lit up.
I'll go ahead and say the quick question I was asking Brooks for, where what's the player you're way higher than on others that you're not ashamed of? It's Charles Clay. I know I'm higher than everybody. Where I take Charles Clay or where I project him, it makes people go, what
We've
in the
always
world?
thought you were higher than everybody.
Yeah, so the reality is he's got a great target percentage. I think he's a talented tight end. There's
only a few targets there. So.
He's twice finished as a top 12 tight end in the past, and he is undrafted. I think his value is greater than what his draft position is.
All right, let's talk about some pair of dirty sweatpants or something to that extent. The New York Football Jets.
Pooped in his big boy sweatpants.
Oh, I should have said it.
These are not big boy pants.
This is a bad team. But being a bad team does not mean that there will not be fantasy-relevant players. Last year we saw Terrell Pryor in Cleveland have a monster year. We saw good years from Crowell. So McCown, Hackenberg, they look like the two competing for the starting quarterback job right now. Bryce Petty falling out of it a little bit. You have the running backs, Powell, Forte, and then you have this wide receiver landscape that I want to get into as well. You basically have all the potential of last year's team that has been jettisoned. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Oh, there you go. Brandon Marshall, Eric
Professional.
Decker, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then stalwart of the offense, Nick Mangold's not even there anymore. So this team looks completely different. It's a youth movement. All right, where are the diamonds in this very rough? Because
Well, I mean, the clearest diamond would be how are you projecting the running back situation to shake up? Bilal Powell was incredible in that last 25% of the season when Matt Forte was a non-factor. Do they ride with Powell, or do they just go back to Forte and say, hey, well, you're the leader of the timeshare?
they'll use both. And like I said before, neither of them factor into the long-term future of the Jets.
Yeah, I was watching some Jets camp video.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is what I do for you, Foot Clan. I watch things like Jets camp video. And this wasn't highlights. This was just kind of.
Was there viewer discretion advised?
Yeah, viewer discretion advised. It was you must be 85 years or older or going to sleep to watch this program. And you saw
like Matlock didn't want to watch that.
Right. Matt Forte gets first crack. He takes a run, and I literally, while I'm watching this, I think, man, he is no spring chicken. I mean, he does not look good. And I'm talking just jogging back after the run. And then they give the ball to Bilal Powell, and he's like, boom, 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 just bouncing.
Yeah, it's Bilal Powell.
Bilal Powell. And but I'm not convinced that the Jets are going to I think it will be a 50-50. Bilal Powell, if given the opportunity, he would be a super great fantasy asset. I don't think he gets the opportunity this year. So right now, I feel like he's being a little bit overdrafted.
Well,
I got them both in my late 20s.
So even in a
and neither of them are in their late 20s.
right.
So
yeah, well, Powell is.
No, Powell's like 31.
What? No, you better vet that.
Yeah, I might be wrong. Hold on.
But Bilal Powell,
28's the new 31.
So he's in his late 20s.
He's
exactly.
28.
all right. So, but Bilal Powell in the 6th round,
31 in wide receiver years.
and I'm in PPR in fantasy football calculator. He's a middle 6th round pick, a pass catching running back.
Yeah.
For a team that's probably probably going to be losing some games. I mean,
A few.
even if he's only
it's
getting
there.
if he's getting 50% of the shares of the snaps in the 6th round, that's fine. I would be happy to
So
have
you're
that.
happy with Powell in the 6th?
In a PBR, yeah.
Yeah,
In a PPR,
in the
sure.
PPR. Okay. Matt Forte?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't even break out of your sipping on your
No.
drink.
There's no time for that.
I think a lot of people want to hand Quincy Enunwa a wide receiver 1 job. A lot of reports out of, I listened to the beat writers in New York, and I've read some things that say, look, he may be by default the 1 on this roster.
Oh, for sure.
But he's not a
But
1.
he's not a 1 is kind of the sentiment. And I think that just brings the one player I'm excited about in this whole entire roster is Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Yeah.
Because pass catcher-wise, Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa, look, they need help. And Austin Seferian-Jenkins will be there. And I think if McCown takes the job as the starting quarterback, which is still up in the air, but if he does, he's shown that he can produce fantasy value, even in bad situations. He's played for every team in the NFL 3 or 4 times. And if he lands in New York and gets some starting opportunities, maybe you see a little, McCown-Barnage kind of connection that with ASJ.
You do have to wait, though. What's the suspension? Is
2
it 1
games.
or it's 2?
Yeah, so I was going to say, you don't draft Austin Seferian-Jenkins because then you'll have to draft another tight end, and that having 2 tight ends on a normal roster is terrible.
It's abhorrent to you.
Yeah, it is abhorrent to me. I'm not excited about any of these wide receivers. Quincy Enunwa might be okay as, your 4th wide receiver, a flex option, weekly matchups. I believe that there will be production from the wide receivers, but these are streamers because it's going to be based on what quarterback is playing. I'm fully convinced that we see at least 3 quarterbacks play this year.
I wouldn't doubt that.
McCown, Hackenberg, even Bryce Petty, who's not getting love. And I'll tell you still, just like last year, when Bryce Petty goes in, I'm going to throw Robbie Anderson in my lineup for sure because it's the only guy he targets. So you just need to wait and look at Jets wide receivers, I believe, in season versus taking the draft pick flyer on nailing down who it's going to be because it might start that way, but I think it'll change throughout the season.
All right.
Quincy in the back of the 9th?
Well, no, I'll take
Sure.
Quincy.
Okay.
I guess I'm saying like
The
or
problem
Darius
is-
Stewart or Robbie Anderson or those. I think some of those guys are going to have production, but whoever starts with it, I don't think is just going to continue all year.
The problem with a team like this, too, is we can say all we want about garbage time, but you have to be – like this is a team that I think against really good defenses, they just won't score. I mean, they're not going to score a lot. The yardage won't be there. So you will have to stream them. There will be a matchup dependency, and I'm sure there'll be some diamonds in there, but they're just going to be hard to find.
It won't be Chandler Catanzaro. I'll tell you that.
He's still in the league, Jay. Sorry.
He's cat man.
Is he your boom-boom
No, he will
kicker
never
of
be my.
the summer?
He's my bust kicker of the summer.
The bust kick. All right, hey, we're going to wrap it up now. We're wrapping it up. We got the NFC East tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. We're 5 days a week. Subscribe, review on iTunes. It's go time. Let us know. Give us your feedback on Twitter at the FF Ballers. We are here for you. We want to make this a successful, fun, awesome season, and just do what we do.
Go football.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of football, play draft with us. That's a best ball league that's awesome. Just go to playdraft.com/ballers, and you get a free entry to play.
And I'll be tweeting out a link to play today. Boom! Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.